You're live. By live, I mean pre-recorded.
Yes, we are live in the fact that when this was recorded, we were live.
We
talking
were.
to each other.
We were recording this in the midst of the pandemic known as COVID-19, also known as the coronavirus.
Yes, also known as, what is it? Coronavirus disease 2019. Is that where the COVID-19 comes from? I looked this up once. What COVID stands for?
I think the CDC just has to designate every.
No, that's the World Health Organization that does the designations.
Oh, true. All right, that part's getting cut out.
Are they? Is it called the World Health Organization, or is it called the WHO or the WHO?
I just call it the World Health Organization. I don't know what they actually go by.
Yeah, I'm like, should I call them the WHO, which sounds weird and a little wordy, or should I call them the Who, which sounds like they're a rock band? So anyway,
Are we actually gonna start now? You want to get started now?
Yeah, we should probably.
All right. Welcome to the in.pencil podcast. I am Adam.
And I'm Jess.
And we're going to have some discussions about some conspiracy theories today, just to jump right into it because...
So, Adam, what if I tell you of this great place you can go to? It's on that Scandinavian part of Europe that has Norway and what's that other country there called?
Sweden?
No, isn't there another one up there?
Finland?
Finland. What the heck is Finland? You're just making up stuff now. No, Denmark. Denmark. I think Denmark's Scandinavian. Anyway, wait. What is Finland?
It's a country. Oh,
you're one of those people.
What people?
You think Finland is real. No. There's no such thing as Finland. All people who are from Finland, excuse me, let me do air quotes or sarcasm. People who are from Finland are actually from one of its neighboring countries, and it's just made up. Everybody's in on it. There is no Finland. Why they made it up, I'm not sure, but they did. There's no Finland. You can't convince me otherwise.
But why would people claim that there's Finland if there wouldn't be a Finland?
It's made up by the Soviets because, they were doing Soviet stuff.
I feel like the burden of proof is on you as the accuser to...
So, I can't give you proof because it's terrible. It doesn't exist. No, not Finland, but the proof doesn't exist. But the fact that people believe there is no Finland is maybe my favorite conspiracy theory of all time. I just wanted to start out that way because I just love it. And also, it's a Reddit post, and you can read it, and it's crazy, and it's beautiful. Excuse me. It's weird. I won't say it's crazy. It's just weird. And it's beautiful. And I can't tell if the person's being serious or not, but I kind of hope he is. I assume it's a he because it didn't seem like the writing of a female. As if I know the difference between how males and females write.
Why do people invent conspiracy theories? What do you think the reason is that people come up with? So let's say something exists or happens that you can't, like a dog barking. That dog barking is actually something else completely. It's actually the government.
Listening. It's the FBI agent who's listening into our Skype call.
We just started, and all of a sudden we're being interrupted. There's a microchip implanted into your dog that is designed to force the dog to interrupt the conversation whenever we border on something that is, let's say, conspiratorial in nature.
So, I think the dog is calm.
Do you need to go take your dog out?
No, I just took the dog out.
Who let the dog out?
Who
is the World Health Organization? Took the dog
out. World Health Organization. What if there was a World Heath Organization, like for Heath bar cookies and stuff? We are the World Heath Organization. What are you known as? The WHO. Oh, crap.
Copyright. It's like when the WWE had to change its name from WWF to WWE because there was already a World Wildlife Foundation that had copyright to that acronym. It's pretty hilarious. So what would you say is your favorite conspiracy theory?
So my favorite conspiracy theory, as I said, is oops, hold on. I don't know if you're going to cut that out.
I can cut out anything.
Yeah. So
I'll
I
spend
meant
3 hours. I'll spend 3 hours editing this fucking thing like I did last week. Jesus.
I don't know if you're going to cut out the beginning of Finland part. So my favorite. So I won't say as I said. So let me go. One.
What is your favorite conspiracy theory?
So my favorite conspiracy theory is that Finland doesn't exist. It's, I guess, an offshoot of the fact that Australia doesn't exist. The fact, I said that as if it's true. The conspiracy theory that Australia doesn't exist, like it's all made up, and the people who live in Australia don't actually live in Australia. They live somewhere else, but they're told they live in Australia. Now, why these conspiracy theories exist, I didn't really want to get into the rabbit hole too much to figure out what is the purpose of them. The Finland one has to do with like a Soviet border because Finland actually touches Russia. Because there's that old sometimes you'll hear the fact that only one country is between Finland and North Korea.
And that's Russia. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Russia. So it's like, but it's just a giant country, so it's not really saying much. It's like saying China, a country that touches one edge of China and the other edge of China, and that's like 6 time zones apart. Woo! Like, yeah, big countries span continents.
I think you can boil down the same way that you can boil down the existence of religion. I think you can boil down the existence of conspiracy theories. When you have something that happens or that exists that people don't understand, then they invent things to fill in the gap that they don't understand. In religion's case, they invent God and a lot of narrative and rhetoric and stories, tribalism, rituals. But for conspiracy theories, they invent other versions of answers.
Yeah, I think conspiracy theories go hand in hand with religion, and kind of almost in some ways are their own religion, it seems like, because there's a set of beliefs, there are group meetups, there's insider versus outsider. We're getting into a lot of insider outsider stuff.
Yeah.
And we've just been on that for a long time. Yeah. Last time we were on a major insider thing where like we were the only 2 insiders.
Yeah.
And that one guy in North Carolina was like, "Yes, Reliant K."
So your favorite one is the Finland one.
Yeah, because it's absolutely bonkers, I guess you could say. It's a Reddit post. It's the only place where I know of it originating. I haven't really gone into much research on it, but like, okay, a country doesn't exist. Well, how do they keep it from them? Well, the government just makes it up. What about all the nations? All the nations are in on it. What about airplanes? They're in on it too. All pilots are in on it. It's like,
well, that's very similar to like the flat Earth conspiracy, right? Like everyone is in on it. Like I'm in on it. Nobody's told me to be in on it, but I've been to every continent on the globe, and I've flown halfway across the world in different sections, and so like I have experiential proof that the world is a sphere, but flat earthers would go toe to toe with me and deny that all of my experience is a result of brainwashing by the government. Effectively, I've been brainwashed to believe that the world is a sphere.
How do we know you're not working for the government? Like, you're getting paid, clearly. You're part of Big Eartha.
I'm part of Round Earther. Freaking Round Earther.
Wait, what would it be? What's the name? Terra. You're part of Big Terra. Round Terra. That's the name of this. Big Pharma, Round Terra.
Right.
You were just paid off by the government. That's where all that money they keep you stipend, and they fly you around the earth, they fly you from point to point on this disc.
Right.
just to tell people it's round, because it has to be round. We have to make everyone believe it's round because it's very important to keep the sheep down. I don't know. I don't know what the point.
I don't know the psychology. I don't know.
And that gets into a lot of conspiracy theories. Is the psychology doesn't add up on most of them. Like, everybody's just in on it to make sure that the Earth is flat. Why? Why is everybody in on it? Because they want to be. It's scientists run amok. It's like, that makes literally no sense. There are a lot of conspiracy theories out there that like you can hear and you're like, I see why you believe that.
Mm-hmm.
Flat Earth in Finland not existing, in Australia not existing, are ones that I'm like, I don't think your reasoning adds up to the point of why.
Yeah.
And not to mention, a friend and I like to say a lot, we don't know which one of us came up with this. We both think the other kid said it first to the other one, and we probably heard it from somewhere else. So I'm not going to attribute to either one of us just in case. Only 2 people knew about Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky. And only 2 people, and they could not keep that a secret.
Yeah, that's true.
And neither of them wanted to get that out, truthfully. But it got out. So how on earth are you going to fake the Earth being round? Or the moon landing? There's another famous one.
Yeah, the moon landing being staged. That one always cracks me up. I mean, I wasn't alive when the moon landing happened in 1969, so I have no proof.
We weren't alive when any of the moon landings happened.
Yeah, NASA kind of sucks now. But
there were 6 people. There were not 0. There were 6. There would have been 7, but the oxygen tank.
It's unfair to say that all conspiracy theories are equal and therefore all discounted equally.
Yeah.
As much as we were making fun of some conspiracy theories, some of them hold ground, and some of them have turned out to be true.
Yeah.
We've always thought that, the government was spying on us. That turned out to be completely true. So here's a list of conspiracy theories that turned out to be true.
Where are we getting this list from, may I ask?
I'm getting it from an article on Best Life, but I've seen these around. I've seen these around a lot. So a lot of them, if there's one I question, I'll flag it. But
yes.
So and one was.
Real quick, we should say beforehand that based on our knowledge, these are ones that, based on research and knowledge, we can't prove that these are actually true. That someone didn't just make up the proof that it's true.
Right. Okay. So, these have been acknowledged by the government or whatever entity has been accused of committing the act or whatever.
What if they're just acknowledged this one because they don't want you to know about the bigger one that they're actually doing?
We're not going to go too far down the rabbit hole.
UFOs don't exist because it's actually ghosts.
UFOs empirically do exist because if there's something in the sky that is unidentifiable to you, then that for you is an unidentified flying object. So UFOs empirically exist.
What if I know it's an airplane, but I don't know which airplane it is?
Then it's an unidentified airplane phenomenon or unidentified airplane object. I don't know what to tell you.
It's a UAO. Okay, go on. Sorry.
This is from an article in Best Life, but I've seen these around other places that I've looked to in researching for this podcast. All 20 minutes of research that we actually did.
Hey, I did at least 22.
Yeah. So the U.S. government poisoned alcohol during the Prohibition. That happened. The Canadian government developed a machine called a gaydar, which was intended to be able to detect if men were gay.
Wait, that was the Canadian government who did that?
Yeah, and they called it the fruit machine.
Oh my goodness. First of all, I have heard of this. I did not know it was the Canadian government. I thought it was the U.S. government who invented gas that make people gay. Oh wait, that's from 30 Rock. Never mind.
So,
the fruit machine. And that's how Fruit Loops were made.
Edith Wilson, who was the wife of President Woodrow Wilson, acted as president while he was making decisions on his behalf.
And that's where we get one of our recently very famous amendments. It gets around Twitter a lot. The 25th Amendment, right?
Yeah.
Came out of that.
The U.S. government used dead body parts of infants and children for radioactive testing without permission in the 1950s through a project called Project Sunshine. Playing football can cause brain damage. Who would have thought that would?
I didn't even think about that one. That is.
Wait. You just cut out. Hang on. Say what you said again.
I didn't even think about that one as being a
You're
conspiracy.
choppy as shit. I can't hear what you're saying.
Okay. What in the world?
Choppy.
Hold on. Let me see what I can do.
Why are you so choppy right now? What is going on? Oh, you know what it is? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Everyone and their mom is on the internet right now because they're all at fucking home. Everyone and their fucking mom is online right now.
Oh. Of course they are.
That's why it's so choppy, because everyone's online, because everyone is stuck at home. All right, so here's one. Playing football can cause brain damage. Who would have thought that would be? I didn't know that was a conspiracy, but yeah.
Oh my goodness. I would have not even put that as a conspiracy, but that is so obviously big right now, and it's something that the NFL is pretending like isn't true.
Right. You mentioned this earlier. The CIA secretly gave LSD to unsuspecting individuals to test mind control.
Yes, I did mention that before we started recording.
Right. I don't know. I may have to get this better, but so from 1953 to 1964, the CIA secretly dosed individuals with LSD to test the potential effects of mind control, called Project MK Ultra.
And you know what they found out?
What's that?
They found out that when you give someone LSD, it's really hard to get them to do anything you want them to do because they are taking LSD. Yeah. So if you're curious, yes, that was tried, and they learned very fast. LSD is not good for mind control.
The Gulf of Tonkin attack never happened.
I have no clue what that is.
I'll read a little blurb. In 1964, President Lyndon Johnson told the public that U.S. ships were attacked by the Vietnamese, known as the Gulf of Tonkin attack, to gain support for American citizens for the Vietnam War. However, a year later, Johnson admitted there was no attack and was quoted for saying, "For all I know, our Navy was shooting at whales out there." In 2005, official documents released from the National Security Agency was released that confirmed that the Gulf of Tonkin attack never happened, and my reading is terrible, and was fabricated to gain support for the war.
Wow.
And we just talked about this one. The government was investigating UFOs. Yep, through the ATIP program, also known as the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, which was a $22 million program between 2008 and 2011. They researched and analyzed videos from DoD and other sources, and was searching for aerial phenomenon. And now the guy who ran that is now part of To the Stars Academy with Tom DeLonge.
So here's a question. That does not talk about, what is it, Operation Blue Book?
No, but that also happened. The U.S. Air Force, Project Blue Book. Yeah, Project Blue Book.
Oh, Project Blue. So for those who don't know anything about Project Blue Book, is basically think real life X-Files, except just the alien part.
Right.
And probably fewer. Well, no, actually, it was in the 50s, right? 40s or 50s. So probably a lot of cigarette smoking men.
Let me look at the exact dates on Project Blue Book here.
I saw something that said, like, if the X-Files took place today, it wouldn't be cigarette smoking man, it'd be vaping man. And I just think about that, like a guy who's just vaping in the corner.
All right, let's see. Project Blue Book, 1952.
I do want to talk about aliens in the future.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, I want to talk about the aliens a little bit more because one of my favorite, because I do want to talk about one of my favorite X-Files episodes of all time, and some of the things that could be aliens. but may not be. So I don't know if you want to talk about aliens right now, get into that, or if you want to continue on with what you're talking about.
I think right now we could just go with the fact that we know that on more than 2 occasions, the U.S. government has has admitted to diving into UFO phenomenon research and alien
Oh, I did want to
research.
Sorry, I wanted to mention this real quick. The Tuskegee syphilis experiment, which happened in the 40s through the 70s, I
Yeah,
believe, where the government basically did not, even though they had the cure for syphilis, they did not treat it on a group of African American men in Tuskegee to see how it affected them. They wanted to see how syphilis worked over years. So they basically just treated the symptoms but did not actually cure the syphilis and lied to the patients that they had syphilis just to see how it played out. It got discovered in the 70s. They ended up, it was like 100 people, I think, was in this, 100 patients, and it was a $10 million payout, which seems like a lot until you really start doing the math and realize a lot of what the government has done is
fucked up.
Yeah, I didn't even have I couldn't even think of words. So these are like I don't know if the Tuskegee syphilis experiment was considered a conspiracy theory because it got the evidence as soon as people started saying something about it, it got proven to be true very fast.
Right.
And even we can get into more like the Flint water crisis.
Right.
What happened in I don't know the whole story, but like Aaron Brockovich in the movie, the true life story of what happened, what it's based on, kind of similar, I think, to Flint water crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Get into fracking and all that, very similar type stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So fracking. Well, we can talk about that in a little bit. I want to get through this list first,
Yes.
but let's mark fracking down as a topic to discuss briefly.
I'm sorry, I thought you were done with the list. My bad.
No, I still got more things on the list, but that's good. I do want to talk about fracking because, yeah, fracking is definitely a thing that exists. Okay, let's just talk about it real quick. So it's interesting that there's a correlation between the number of earthquakes and geological events that have happened in places where there is no fault line, like Missouri and Nebraska and Oklahoma
Missouri has a
and
fault
Kansas. Okay, but not Western Missouri.
line. Wait, which way's Western Missouri? Yeah. Okay, Western Missouri does not have a fault line, but it has one pretty close to it.
Well, there's the fault line that runs from like Memphis up to St. Louis along the Mississippi River.
The New Madrid fault line is a pretty strong fault line that.
But the increase in tectonic activity that has happened in the Great Plains states, that just so happens to correlate exactly with the amount of fracking that's occurred in those states.
Yes.
Can't be ignored.
We should say we've grown up close enough to the New Madrid fault line to know that it doesn't shake often.
Right.
And no, I'm not mispronouncing that. That is actually the name of that fault line.
Yeah.
And it's annoying because it's named after a town in Missouri, not named after the city in Spain.
Right. A lot of towns in Missouri have really weird, oddly pronounced names. And in Illinois, there's a town in Illinois called Cairo, but it's pronounced Cairo. And when you drive through it, it's like a ghost town. But anyway, if you ever drive through Southern Illinois, you'll drive through Cairo.
I've never actually been to Illinois.
Yeah. Well, just make sure you just don't stop and just keep going. So don't stop. All right. So tobacco companies hid evidence that smoking is deadly. In the 1950s, research was starting to show an indisputable link between smoking and lung cancer. However, it wasn't until the late 90s that tobacco company Philip Morris admitted that smoking could cause cancer. So I guess in that time frame, there was a conspiracy that smoking caused cancer. Not really. It can't be I don't know if I'd call that a conspiracy, though. That's more like, it's like us saying that bacon causes cancer now. It's like a fact that people just won't really accept.
Well, it's a lot different. Bacon causes cancer versus cigarettes causing cancer. Both are technically carcinogens, which means they cause cancer. can cause cancer, but it's not so much can they cause cancer as it is what is the percentage likelihood. So yes, bacon does increase your risk of cancer, but nowhere near as much as
smoking
does. So like say if you say, I don't know the actual numbers on bacon, but let's just say like baking doubles your risk of cancer, and you hear
bacon
that and you're
gives
like,
I think it's like a 15% higher chance of.
oh, well,
Yeah.
So,
So
but
it's
I'm
not
just going to go with my numbers because trying to do the math of 15% is not something I want to do this late at
Right.
night.
Okay.
But anyway, so say like someone came out with research that says bacon doubles your risk of cancer, and they post that all over the news sites, and it seems so bad. But then you do the math, and you see your risk of cancer is maybe like 0.002%, and bacon
Right.
makes it 0.004%.
Right.
So it does technically increase it, but the risk is still very low. That's not the actual numbers. You said it was 15%. So
Yeah.
so I don't know what the actual odds of you getting cancer.
Me, like 0. Like I'm never gonna get cancer or diabetes or any other. I'm actually never gonna die. I'm actually immortal.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, I see what you're saying. So yeah. So anyway, yeah, smoking definitely causes cancer. Just cigarettes though. Weed is fine. The world's richest and most powerful men have a retreat every year called Bohemian Grove. It's a conspiracy. That's like that goes into like the Illuminati conspiracy. Like the world is run by like the secret organization that runs the world and pulls the strings and holds the purse strings, and everyone else is just kind of puppets or slaves to the system, right?
Yeah.
So
And so this is the 1%.
right, but this is the part that's probably the most true about any of that. That the world's wealthiest and most elite players have I think mainly men actually, have a retreat once a year called Bohemian Grove.
Sounds about white.
That started, that basically was where they conduct all their business.
Yeah.
And
oh, sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
And there is actually, I think, a literal club, like a physical club, where you can't get into unless you have a blue check mark by your name on Twitter. So,
What? Really?
yeah, I can't remember what it is or where it is, but yeah, there is an actual club. I think it's a physical location, but I could be wrong on that. But you're not invited to unless you have a blue check mark.
I've never heard of that. That's crazy.
So it's a lot of journalists and YouTube celebrities, I think. Because
What do they talk about?
I don't know. I don't have a blue check mark by my name.
We need to get a blue check mark.
Yeah. Well, I mean, technically, we are in the media, so media are the people who get the blue check mark most of the time.
Well, yeah, we don't have any followers though. Like we have no
Yeah.
followers on Twitter. So
Oh, we don't.
we have like
Am I
10.
following us? Yeah. I mean, you have to have a lot of followers. Used to on YouTube, it was 100,000 followers or 100,000 subscribers got you a check mark. They don't do it that way anymore because Jesus got a check mark, and it's not the real Jesus.
Yeah, I think some of the people I follow on YouTube got removed when they changed, or they got their little verification thing removed whenever they changed. But anyway, yes.
So yeah,
if there is an Illuminati, it exists in the form of this meeting that happens.
I thought the Illuminati was the Masons.
I see no evidence that that any of them are true.
I mean, are any of these?
Well, the ones I'm listing off are true, and then
but I mean,
into the ones that we're not sure about later.
Yeah, but secret organizations like the ones you're listing off are like government stuff, which governments do a lot of strange things. Governments experiment on people all the time.
Yeah.
Yes. Why they do it? That gets into a question we'll probably talk about later.
So the FBI spied on John Lennon. In 1971, the FBI put John Lennon under surveillance, and the Immigration and Naturalization Service tried to deport him the following year.
Yes.
They feared he would disrupt the 1972 Republican convention, so the CIA joined with the FBI in gathering intelligence on him.
Yeah, there's I think it's a documentary or something like Lennon in New York or something. And Lennon lived in New York from like 1970 to his death in 1980. And it was like a big time in his life of musical change. And it gets into a lot of his struggles with, was it Nixon?
Yeah. So
And
is there a conspiracy that Lennon was killed by the U.S. government?
I wouldn't be shocked if there was.
Because I haven't heard that, but now that I think about it, I wouldn't be surprised if there was. Like, there's conspiracy theories that Martin Luther King was killed by the government. There's conspiracy theories that JFK was killed by the CIA.
I
Right.
do want to get into one of my favorite one of my favorite beliefs about JFK's death. I normally do not care for JFK's conspiracy theories because the movie JFK just made up a bunch of stuff as if it were fact and everybody started believing it. But there are some interesting theories out there.
Okay. All right. Have you heard the conspiracy theory about the U.S. government knew about the Pearl Harbor attack ahead of time, but it allowed it to occur in order to justify entering World War II?
I have not heard that one, but it's kind of weird because the U.S. government was already technically in World War II, weren't they? I mean, not declared, but they were sending a lot of stuff for a neutral
proxy,
nation.
But that was like the justification for like actually, Normandy and dropping atomic bombs on Japan.
Yeah. So when I was a wee young child, I forgot what year. I think I was in high school. I had to do a research paper for a history class that I don't think you were in.
It's probably AP history, and I didn't take AP.
It might have been AP history.
I wasn't an AP student. I promise you that.
No. He was a student.
Occasionally, when I wanted to be.
Sometimes he was there, and sometimes he was. Anyway, so I had to do a paper, and I wanted to do it on decode the Navajo code.
Breaker. The signaling. Yeah.
Yeah, but then I switched it, and it got into a lot of things, and so I got into the deciphering codes before Pearl Harbor, and some of the research. Granted, this was a high schooler doing research at a university, though. My sister was in college, and she got me some books from the university, so I was like, big time. I felt. Because I got these big actual university books, even though I never went to the library because they don't really let high schoolers, I guess, into the library. I don't know. But anyway, so I did research, and from what I got and what I've heard since, that they knew that that Japan was going to attack them.
Right.
But they thought it was going to be San Diego, not Pearl Harbor. Because San Diego.
Why would they just skip right over Pearl Harbor? I mean, that would like strategically it would make sense that they would go to Pearl Harbor. That's like the closest place, right? It makes sense.
Pearl Harbor would be closest, but San Diego would have been on the mainland soil.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
It, even to this day, the U.S. doesn't really count anything that's not on the mainland as fully U.S., I feel.
Maybe I guess legally, yes, but maybe culturally.
Puerto Rico gets hit by a hurricane and everybody complains about how bad Puerto Rico is. But if Florida gets hit by a hurricane, let's all help Florida. So, see, we don't really care about the non-mainland. It's kind of my idea.
Yeah. And most people don't even know where Guam or Saipan even knows.
I don't know what that second one you said. Where?
Saipan.
Is that U.S.?
Yeah, it's in the Northern Marianas Islands, just above Guam in the Pacific. And it's U.S. owned.
All I know is American Samoa. No. Wait, does anybody live there on Saipan?
Yeah, people live there.
Is it military base?
No, it's just a small economy.
I did not know about this place.
Saipan.
Oh, I have to look this up. I know a lot of the non-state places, but what is it? It's Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, D.C., Guam, American Samoa to an extent, and those are the 5 I've always heard about.
Northern Marianas Islands.
Yeah, that's true. That makes sense. Military bases, I guess, also get sometimes lumped into that group because off that are not on U.S. soil.
Yeah, they consider like ships, for example, like Navy ships are considered U.S. territory because anytime you have or a Navy vessel that has a flag, then whatever vessel that or whatever flag that vessel is flying is the territory of that. So if it's an Australian warship, then that vessel is Australian territory, right? That
Interesting.
just kind of goes into maritime law. And anyway, so let's get back to World War II. The U.S. government, the U.S. government employed Nazi scientists after World War II. About 1,600 Nazi scientists were sent to work in the U.S. following Germany's defeat in World War II. The program called Operation Paperclip. Most of these scientists were used in MK Ultra.
And you weren't saying that the U.S. Allowed Pearl Harbor to be bombed as being fact, were you?
No.
Yeah.
I asked you if you had heard that conspiracy theory.
Well, I just wanted to make it clear for the listener that
our one listener.
our one listener, our faithful listener after the last episode. It's that dude in North Carolina, I tell you. So just clarifying that we're not saying that's true. That is a theory. I can see where it comes from though, because as I said, that they said that they thought it would be San Diego from what some of the stuff I researched. But also when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, they didn't do it well. They missed the oil tanks that they were supposed to hit.
Yeah.
So they did. I'm not saying that they didn't kill people and they didn't cause a lot of problems, because that is true. But they missed a lot of the stuff they were supposed to hit.
So the CIA, or here's one. The CIA spied and controlled the American media. This one comes from Operation Mockingbird in the 1950s. They paid journalists to publish CIA propaganda, wiretap their phones, and monitor their offices to keep tabs on their activities and visitors. The CIA paid student and cultural organizations, as well as magazines, to serve as front organizations. The covert operation was finally uncovered in Senate hearings in the 1970s.
There was something else I was going to mention, another conspiracy theory, but I don't want to mention this group of people because I don't want it to come for them to come to get wind of us.
Are you talking about Scientologists?
Oh my freaking goodness! I'm telling you, where they infiltrated the U.S. government.
Yeah.
What was that called? I forgot what that operation was called. They had a name for it, but yes, Scientologists infiltrated the U.S. government in the 80s, 70s. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I didn't look it up. I wasn't going to bring it up. Adam brought it up. So go after Adam.
I live in Nebraska. Just come find me in Nebraska.
I'm currently taking residence
in
Jackson, Mississippi. Huh?
An underground bunker.
An underground bunker in Jackson, Mississippi. 221B Baker Street, Jackson, Mississippi.
That sounds legit.
Yes, it probably isn't.
The U.S. Air Force researched pheromones as a weapon.
Some of these sound so silly. Like, why would you even... Like, okay, here's the thing.
These are real.
I get it, U.S. government. You sometimes let these things out. But just because you can tell us the weird experiments you've done doesn't mean you have to tell us them all. I don't want to really know the facts on what you were doing with pheromones. This makes me think of some guy just like spraying it in the air, like, "Hey, you want to come over here and tell me your secrets?"
So listen to this line. The U.S. Department of Defense considered various non-lethal chemicals meant to disrupt enemy discipline and morale. One of them was the gay bomb. The research, which was conducted in 1994, was intended to create a bomb that would douse an enemy troops in female pheromones. The objective was to make soldiers sexually attracted to one another and negatively impact their effectiveness in combat.
They also, I've heard this, that before Bay of Pigs and Cuba, when they were trying to invade Cuba, they were thinking of different ideas, and one of them was to make the Cubans believe that the second coming was happening to cause chaos.
What?
Yes.
What was that called? Was that real?
I've heard it. I don't have I can't find it. Someone told me this.
So here's another one. The Dalai Lama was a CIA agent. In the 1960s, the CIA provided the Tibetan resistance with $1.7 million a year to aid in guerrilla operations against China, in which included an annual subsidy of $180,000 to the Dalai Lama. In 1998, the Dalai Lama's administration acknowledged that it did receive these funds from the CIA, but denied reports that the Tibetan leader benefited personally from his subsidiary. Instead, they insisted that it went toward setting up offices in Geneva and New York, as well as some money spent in international lobbying. So that's not really
like benefiting.
Yeah. The U.S. government is watching. Okay, this is another one. The U.S. government is watching your internet use. I think this is probably what we were just talking about. The government is using its vast resources to track its citizens via their online activities. In fact, according to the Electronic Frontier Foundation (EFF) in 2016, government agencies sent 49,868 requests for user data to Facebook, 27,850 requests to Google, and 9,076 to Apple. EFF is a major nonprofit organization which defends civil liberties in a digital world and advises the public on internet privacy matters.
So
that's basically exactly what we talked about. That's exactly what Snowden released, more or less. But also, Snowden released stuff about like AT&T and T-Mobile and Verizon and all that.
So we're talking about the U.S. government listening in, but what we're not talking about is the other companies that are listening in that have more power than the U.S. government, and that is Google and Amazon, right?
Right.
And they listen in all the time. And like I have my phone, which is not owned by Google or Amazon. It's
Is it an Android?
It is not.
What is it?
It's an iPhone.
Oh, okay. So it's Apple.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that though.
I mean, process of elimination, dude. There's only like 3 different. Anyway, okay.
It is a Facebook phone. Do you remember the Facebook phone? Didn't that exist?
That did exist for a little while.
It's a Nokia flip phone, people. Okay, it's a Nokia flip phone.
It's probably a Windows phone. Yeah, if you want a phone that doesn't spy on you, it doesn't exist. Sorry.
Get a rotary phone.
But you still have to go through normal telephone lines, which are tapped. So
basically, like, they listen in, of course. Like, I turned off Siri because I would say stuff and it would randomly pop up. Yes, did you ask for me or whatever it says?
Yeah, I get that too.
I turned off Siri because I got tired of it doing that. And also I was like, maybe that's one step of it not listening to me, which of course it can still listen to me even if I don't have Siri on because they do that. And so this is kind of the world we live in. Now, is that a bad thing or a good thing? That is not for this podcast. That is a great question because I have a very interesting view on targeted ads, and which is kind of what that is.
Yeah.
Because they don't care about our information unless they can make money off of it. And they're going to make more money off of it in advertising than they are by selling it to the U.S. government.
Right. So sit down with your phone and just start talking about something random like, I don't know, mouthwash. And see how many ads pop up for you on Instagram and Facebook for mouthwash.
So I did this with before, and it didn't work. So you have to pick. So you have to pick something that you have never searched for, never bought, never looked up, never talked about before, and I won't say anything because if I say anything, then it's now everybody. Even if you're listening to this, it's now yours. You've heard it. It's been a part of your system, and then you'll start seeing it. But however, the problem is we get into the psychological effect known as Bader-Meinhof phenomenon, which is basically you hear about something and then suddenly you start seeing it everywhere. And a little bit like that, you don't think about looking at it until you've seen it for the first time. We see so many ads in a general day that we don't even realize all the ones we're seeing.
Right.
So we can forget like these ads. We may have seen them 100 times, but we didn't think about it until that one time we were like just yesterday I was just talking with my phone there, and I talked about this ad, and now I see it everywhere, forgetting that we've been seeing that ad everywhere for a long time because that particular company is doing a big marketing push toward your demographic.
No, but that actually happens though. Like, I mean, like I've had conversations with people about stuff like somebody will say something about like somebody at work will have something with like do
Yeah,
they go
but
buy diapers for their kids, and all of a sudden diapers are popping up on my Instagram feed. Like I have no care about diapers at all. Like,
what I'm trying to say is like you don't know if it actually is them listening or something else. I'm not saying they're not listening. I'm just saying that we can't be certain that that worked that way because sometimes they get us wrong. They misunderstand who we are, and they send us things or they send us ads that aren't actually made for us. Some of that is purposely done so they don't actually make it look like they're following you. They'll send you completely weird ads, I believe.
yeah,
They'll send you like 5 ads that are for you, and then they'll send you like 3 that not anywhere near you, so you don't pay attention as much to the ones that don't mean nothing to you. You're like, stupid Instagram, they don't know what I want.
right.
And then you see that one ad, you're like, oh, that is kind of cool.
Contaminated polio vaccines spread a cancer-causing virus, and this probably feeds anti-vaxxers' little theories as well. In 1960, it was discovered that the monkey kidney cells used to make the Salk polio vaccine could cause cancer. Americans were not told about this between 1955 and 1963. Nearly 100 million children were given the contaminated vaccine. So that's kind of messed up.
Yes, but again, we have to talk about the fact cancer causing does not mean it's going to give you cancer, because that is just a term that means it's more likely to give you cancer. They can't prove how many of those people got cancer from that. Also, vaccines are made a lot differently than they were made in the 60s. Now,
Right.
they don't give out live viruses anymore for the most part.
Right. So what's your take on anti-vaxxers? Is that a conspiracy? Are they conspiracy theorists, or are they just taking precautions?
They are conspiracy theorists.
Okay.
I think that they believe that Big Pharma is out to get them. I don't even know what Big Pharma is. I get it. The Big Pharma is there. Pharmaceutical companies want to make money. Yes.
Yeah. And hospitals.
Yeah. But killing us is not how they're going to make money. It's really hard to get money from dead people.
But if you make them sick, where they have to go to the hospital and get prescribed medicines.
Yes.
Right.
But that doesn't work, because here's the problem with it. And I think this gets into something people don't think about, because it's not just the major people who are saying like vaccines are good. It's scientists, it's doctors, it's healthcare workers, it's healthcare analysts. These people aren't making millions. These people are not making a lot of money, and they're all saying they're the ones making and using and researching the vaccines and researching how it's helping the populations, and they're all pro-vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what people are forgetting is like insurances do not want us to be sick. And insurances would not give us free vaccines if they thought they would make us sick. Because when we get sick, insurance companies have to pay that for that. They want us to have preventative health, which means they want us to do things like go get a physical and discover, oh, you have higher than average blood pressure. Let's give you this really cheap blood pressure medication now so that it doesn't escalate where we have to do heart surgeries or even more intense blood pressure medication or hospitalization. We're going to give you this medication, which will cost us a lot less in the long run. That's their goal. Their goal is to not have to spend as much money. Their goal is to make money, not spend money. So,
right.
And insurance companies are all for vaccines. You get a flu vaccine every year for free with your insurance company. Almost every insurance company will give it to you for free because they want you to get it. They'll send you reminders to get your flu vaccine. And the reason why is because if you get the flu vaccine, it will keep you from getting the flu, hopefully. Doesn't always work, and that gets into the fact that how the flu works and how it's a lot of math and a lot of guessing and a lot of hope. Mm-hmm. And some years work better than others on the flu vaccine, and we don't have to get into that today. Everybody thinks they know how viruses work these days.
Well,
But
apparently, well,
everybody's a virologist.
yeah.
Virologist. But
I don't know what they actually. Yeah.
yeah. So basically, vaccines, what they do, from just the point of view of just looking at this in a different logical way, is if the insurance companies want you to get vaccines, that means they want you to not be sick. That means they have pretty good evidence that vaccines work. This ain't
Yeah.
about big pharma, because big pharma is not getting its money from us. We're not paying all this money to big pharma. The insurance companies are paying a lot of the money to big pharma,
Yeah.
and they don't want to lose money. I
So
think some people don't think about. That's why I say it's one of the reasons I think it's a conspiracy theory. But I think the main reason is vaccines have worked so well that they allow the conspiracy theory to exist. They work
yeah.
so well that we think we don't need vaccines because I've never been sick. You've never been
Right.
sick because all of your ancestors for the past 3 or 4 generations have been vaccinated.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry,
Exactly.
that was a long rant.
No. That's totally true. And yeah. Anyway, so the U.S. government can manipulate the weather. That's one that's true. Operation Popeye was a 5-year project in which the U.S. government used a technique called cloud seeding to increase participation during the rainy seasons over the North Vietnam Army's moving of vehicles, weapons, and rations across the trail. The general idea of cloud seeding is to send an airborne object, typically an airplane, flying through a cloud while releasing small particulates that give water vapor something to cling to so it can condense and become rain. So the U.S. government did manipulate the weather. So there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
So
And let's just point out also probably the truth to this is that it probably didn't work that
probably
well.
didn't work very well. Yeah,
Because
especially in the '60s. Yeah,
this is something that's been tried for a long time, and just because something works does not mean it's a success.
so that brings to mind the conspiracy theory about what are they called? The vapor trails from the planes.
Chemtrails.
Chemtrails, yes.
And you know
So
somebody out there named Chemtrails, right? Like, hi, my name is Kimberly Trails. I go by Kim, so you can call me Chemtrails. This is my brother Constance Trails. You can call him Contrails.
is
I think
Constance a guy's name or a girl's name?
I don't
Or should
remember.
we be so presumptuous to assign gender to names?
Well, here's the thing, like a lot of names change over time. I think Barbara used to be a guy's name, or it was Beverly. Used to be a guy's name, one of those two, and then it just
Really?
switched to a predominantly female name. It's
Hmm.
so weird. So yeah, you can't really assign for most names. Gender doesn't really work with names. Like you think Andrew literally means in Greek male, as in human dude.
Hmm.
And the name Andrea exists, which is a
Yeah.
feminine name of human dude.
Right.
So our naming system's weird.
But
Also, there's the name Philip, which means lover of horses. That's just funny. That should be cut.
no, that's staying in.
Horse lover.
The U.S. government planned to commit domestic terrorism and blame Cuba. Approved by the Pentagon Chiefs Department of Defense, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the CIA, Operation Northwoods was a proposed plan to fabricate acts of terrorism on U.S. soil. So this goes into like false flag attacks, which is like Alex Jones, InfoWars type stuff. Like this would feed into that line of conspiracy theories. False flags, where the U.S. government has staged an event to happen in order to cause panic or chaos, or to justify an attack on foreign soil. Like I don't know. I guess you could really use this for justification for 9/11 conspiracy theories too, because a lot of 9/11 conspiracies centered around the U.S. government is either responsible for or knew about 9/11 ahead of time and let it happen.
Those make a lot more sense than the fact that the U.S. government did 9/11, because from the it wasn't planes. Because what is it? Buildings don't collapse that way. That looks like a staged collapse. It's one of my favorite theories that I hear.
The
It's
Building
like,
7?
yeah, well, no, I mean like when you see the twin towers when they fall, they're like that looks like a controlled
Controlled
implosion.
demolition.
Yeah,
Yeah.
controlled demolition. And my favorite thing I heard was a buildings expert say, it looks like a controlled demolition because that's how demolitions go. That's how buildings collapse. They don't just tumble over. They're designed so they can't just swing over and fall on their side. They go straight down. That's the only way buildings collapse. So
Right.
yeah, it looks controlled because whether controlled or not, that's how a building's going to collapse. And you can see that anywhere. When you see a building collapse, it collapses in on itself. It doesn't just fall over. Like, I don't know what they were expecting, the building to get hit and just kind of bend and break and fall over onto other buildings. That's not how that works.
Right, but there were government documents that have been released since that showed certain people in government, without being too conspiratorial, were looking for an event to happen to justify war in the Middle East, particularly against Iraq, and
Yeah,
they were
but
looking for an event that was like 9/11, or not, sorry, was like Pearl Harbor esque, like as big as Pearl Harbor, you know?
yeah, but just because, and this gets into, just because that's what they were wanting and that they felt we needed, doesn't mean that they actually did it. That's not proof. That's not enough proof to say that this is what happened. Like, oh,
Right.
they wanted a major event to happen. Then a major event happened. They must have done that. That is a really large jump.
But this one was planned. Operation Northwoods was planned.
Yeah. And
It never occurred, but it was planned.
yeah. And there's there's been a lot of things that have happened, and we're talking a lot about government stuff, and mostly because government files get declassified all the time, so we get to hear about a lot of what they did.
Yeah.
We don't hear about whether or not the new Coke was a conspiracy theory, whether they just did that. They changed the formula, had a big backlash, and changed it back so they can get more hype for their old brand,
Hmm.
which is a common theory, but there's no evidence for it because that seems stupid.
So, what was long to believe Hitler's skull was that of a young woman. So, for decades, it was believed Hitler took his own life after World War II ended. Unsurprisingly, there were also many who believed that it was a setup and that he actually sneaked away, presumably to Argentina, where he set up UFO bases and yada yada. Supposedly, Hitler's skull was in the custody of the Russian government. In 2009, tests were finally performed on the skull. The shocking results revealed that the skull was actually that of a young woman. Ironically, the tests were done to lessen the credibility of conspiracy theorists who had believed that he had gone into hiding, which really fueled the idea that he had gone into hiding, presumably to either Argentina or Antarctica.
Antarctica, that's a great, terrible place to hide.
Well, I mean, there's UFO bases in Antarctica and on the backside of the moon as well.
I mean, of course there are UFO bases on the dark side of the moon. Excuse me, the other side of the far side of the moon.
Far side, yes.
We say the dark side of the moon a lot, and some people are like, no, because it's not always dark, and I'm like, it's always dark to us. Dark does not mean without sunlight. It means we can't see it because there've only been hold on, let me do this math. I can't do the math, but there's been fewer than 30 people who've been on the other side of the moon, have seen the other side of the moon. I'm trying to think how many Apollo flights went to the moon.
So
anyway,
there's this article that came out today. Yeah, today of all days, in Fast Company, written by Chris Impey, which is a university distinguished professor of astronomy at the University of Arizona. And in this article, he goes through and he's basically sort of complaining about why Americans believe in fake science and fake news and conspiracy theories. But my problem with this article is he equates belief in the supernatural and paranormal to being conspiracy theories. So he says the consequences of fake science are no laughing matter. In matters of health and climate change, misinformation can be a matter of life and death. Over a 90-day period spanning December, January, and February, people liked, shared, and commented on posts from sites containing false or misleading information about the coronavirus 142 times more than they did information from the CDC and the World Health Organization. But yeah, is true. But my issue with this is that he equates fascination with the paranormal to being conspiratorial or to being fake news.
Yes. We will put that link to that article somewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And if you can't get it, what's the name of the article?
Fast Company. It's called. It was literally released today. Why people are so easily fooled by conspiracy theories they read online.
Yes. So, yes. So if you can't get to our links, you can Google search that. If Google is still around when you listen to this in 142 years.
Is it fair to equate? Is it fair to equate conspiracy theories with spirituality or religion or belief in paranormal or supernatural?
I don't think it is. I think those are different in some ways, though. We've literally spent several podcasts talking about how they're exactly the same. I think the theme of our podcast is insider versus outsider.
It seems like it.
We get into that a lot.
Yeah. Well, that seems to be like the core of
humanity.
Yeah, and conflict, which is, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, but I don't think it's fair because the difference is generally the belief. Well, it depends on how you do it, I guess. I always feel like the belief of in the supernatural or the paranormal, a lot of times there is this search for evidence or this search for knowledge. And that is not a conspiracy theory as much as it is a science. When you say I have all the knowledge and I have all the evidence and we have it all and you are all sheeple, I hate the word sheeple, but people use it because if you're not one of us, you're one of them. That gets, I can say you can then start saying that is bordering on very much into this cultish mentality that some religious folk, some paranormal belief folk, and conspiracy theory folk kind of get into. When you deny that, when you say, oh, all this evidence against it is just fake news, against my beliefs are fake news, and I will not respond to it or consider it, then yeah, you're getting into that conspiracy theory, cultish mentality. But if you're like, yes, I see your evidence against what I believe, and I'm going to learn it, formulate a response, that gets into more of a scientific approach. So like a scientific approach to religion, like is like the core of what religion is. It's trying to learn and find what is out there. And that's just a scientific method in some senses, is trying to find what's out there, whether it's in the supernatural, the paranormal, the natural world. But when you're like, I have this evidence and I don't care if all the evidence in the world is against me, I have it. And the problem is with like beliefs in the supernatural, there's not a lot of evidence for or against your belief.
Right.
Conspiracy theories, you can come up with evidence for and against a lot of them. And a lot of conspiracy theories can be shut down pretty fast. Flat Earth, Finland.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't take much to do it. Be an astronaut.
I mean, because the fact
both of those.
The fact is already, well, I mean, yeah, exactly. It's already been proven that what your conspiracy is inaccurate. So shut up, pretty much.
Yeah. And yeah, so that's where I would say, like, I think there's a difference. I can't really articulate it fully, but I do think there is a difference. What are your thoughts?
Well, my biggest issue with equating, not necessarily religious belief, we can deal with that in a second, but equating belief in the paranormal or interest in the paranormal with being a conspiracy theory, equating those two things is unfair, because conspiracy theories, if they're big enough, like 9/11 or chemtrails, Finland or flat Earth or any of the other ones, they at least get the attention from the scientific community to be able to be proven one way or the other. You know what I mean? Like with 9/11, you said engineers looked at the video and said that's just how buildings fall, right? So at least it got the attention. The issue with the paranormal is that the scientific community doesn't take it seriously enough to begin with to even give it a fair shake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you go through the scientific method as an individual and you look at things that you've experienced with the paranormal, and if especially if you've experienced something that's supernatural and paranormal, then for somebody to go behind you, somebody like Neil deGrasse Tyson, for example, who has a large voice and who comes in and says, UFOs aren't real because I've never seen evidence for UFOs. Okay, or I've never seen it. Aliens do not exist, or if they do, they haven't visited our planet because we're too minute, we're too out of the way, and there's never been any evidence, whatever you qualify as evidence, to prove it otherwise. And so until something concrete comes my way, this is basically what Neil deGrasse Tyson is saying. Unless something concrete comes my way that shows hard evidence for these things existing and visiting or whatever, then to me it's false. Well, that's not the scientific method, right?
No, I don't.
The scientific.
I will say I don't think Neil deGrasse Tyson is exactly the guy to go to when you're trying to make science points.
But him and Bill Nye seem to be the ones that like the pop culture scientists that everyone goes to. All the popular, doctoral candidates in the scientific community go on Star Talk and talk about whatever their field is. You know what I mean? He's like the voice of the scientific community. He has a large impact into whether or not Pluto is considered a planet or not. You know what I mean? So he's the one who's saying he's the one everybody's listening to. He's saying this isn't real. Never mind if you've experienced interactions with a ghost or a shadow person or any of those things. Your experiences are invalid because no scientist has had the interest to conduct a scientific method and prove it one way or the other. You know what I mean? So that's my rant about.
Yeah. So what I want everybody to do, if you have Twitter,
yeah.
I want you to go
follow us on Twitter.
Yeah. I want you to go and at Neil Tyson, go to his page and hit the mute button. And it'll be the best thing you've ever done with your life. That's not a joke. I'm a very scientific person, but I will not and we can get into that rant on another day. But yeah, muting him is going to muting him, not mutinying him. That's for the science community. It's going to be the best thing for you. But yeah, like this idea of like, my favorite thing I ever saw is the paranormal. Ghosts can't exist because they don't use the laws of nature.
The laws of physics.
Yeah, the laws of physics. And I'm like, do you get the point of the word supernatural? Do you know what that word means? It means it doesn't use the laws of nature that we understand.
Well, not only that, but we, scientists or whoever would admit that we have very little understanding for how the universe works and how reality works and how physics works and how basically our understanding is at a very like basic level right now, even with like the smartest people like Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? But so you admit that we don't know shit, but then at the same time, the things that we're observing are invalid, right?
Yeah. So we have that that idea of like we think we always want to learn more, but there are groups of us who think, well, I can only go by what I know, and therefore I won't allow anything else in. That is the making of a cult.
Yeah,
that's the making of a conspiracy theorist. That's the making of a insider outsider.
So let's decide before we wrap up. We've grazed the surface of conspiracy theories, but I think we're limited on time, and I'd really like to get into a lot of these things in a lot deeper in the future.
I think we're going to talk about the paranormal and probably UFOs. I'm pretty sure there's a lot more information that I would love to talk about both of those in the future. I
think I want to do. Let's decide now what to do next week. I'm leaning more towards something about the paranormal next week, since that would be an easy segue for us right now.
UFOs will be coming.
So do you distinguish between UFOs and the paranormal? Because I think UFOs are paranormal.
I do distinguish between those. That is a good question. I would distinguish between those because to me the paranormal go operate outside the laws of physics. Super like a god or a ghost, or outside the laws of physics, or in a different like multiverse type thing.
Yeah.
But the UFOs would operate inside the laws of physics. They just have a better understanding of it. We're talking about like alien crafts from another planet who come to Earth, are using the physics that we know, except they have a better understanding of it and they know more about it, and they've maybe created the unified theory, and they understand string theory to a way that we never could, or whatever. So that's how I have them as different, is they're just much more advanced scientifically than us, versus on a different plane of existence. I never did get to talk about my favorite X-Files episode. We'll have to, but when we get more into UFOs, it's from Jose Chung's From Outer Space. If you want to do some homework assignment and watch that episode, it is a great episode. It's funny and it's poignant.
I had to watch that myself.
I think you'd like it.
So what is your take on conspiracy theories? Are all conspiracy theories created equal?
They are not. I don't think so. I think some we've obviously talked about are true. Obviously, I would say the vast majority of conspiracy theories are false, because if you have everybody coming up with theories, some of those are going to be false, and most likely most of those are going to be false. But I think conspiracy theories come out of this like psychological need that the earth has order and meaning and purpose, and everything happens for a reason. And so this gets into the Sandy Hook, where like Alex Jones was saying it was the U.S. government did it. It was a false flag type thing. And he harassed the parents who lost their kids. And that is just disgusting on so many levels. Because he didn't want to live in a world, and a lot of people who believed it don't want to live in a world where there's actually a human adult who will start shooting kids.
Right. Or who's capable of evil and violence.
Or there's a terrorist that would just fly a plane into a building. Or that there is a virus that can start in an animal that can just spread the world in a few months. We don't want to believe these things, but these are true. These are real. Like the earth is not as organized and as humans and people and the world in general. We're not as predictable. It's not as easy to categorize. There's a lot of chaos out there.
And I think if there's one thing that we can learn from what we're experiencing right now with the coronavirus, is that we've established all these economic and governmental systems to provide us with goods and security and freedom and the ability to travel and the ability to experience life in a certain way. And as soon, like literally, the coronavirus is affecting less people than what Ebola and Zika and all these other viruses.
No, they're affecting a lot more. They're killing less percentage-wise.
Right. But
than Ebola. I don't think they're killing less than Zika. But
since it's on our doorstep, all these systems are effectively being shut down. So that sort of realigns your priorities in life, and you start to think about what's important, right?
Yeah.
So.
And for some people, they don't want to believe it's really happening. So they're like, the media is making this up. It's like, no, this is what happens. This is what happened in every time in the past. It's just been over 100 years since the last time we had to go through this stuff.
Well, there is some sensationalism that goes along with this, especially contributed by the 24-hour news cycle.
Yes, and that's why we say follow the World Health Organization and CDC if you live in the U.S. Guidelines, because they're the ones who are going to give you the straight talk.
Yeah, but all they're saying is wash your hands, stay away from large crowds, and don't be an asshole. And what are these people? They're going out in large crowds. They're going to stores. They're buying up all the toilet paper
Yeah,
and dishwashing soap and all
look,
this other crap.
I
And
will
all I want
say,
to do is go buy my fucking groceries.
yeah, we just to put it in perspective, it was our grocery order day, and it was a lot because we get our groceries on well, Saturdays. We're recording this on a Sunday, but we had to delay it one day because of all this, and
Yeah.
it's just a lot. But I will say part of this, that something I thought of is with this is a lot of panic buying, but also some of it is parents are just now hearing, hey, your kid's going to be at home for summer 2 months early.
Yeah.
Do you have enough supplies to handle your kids being at home? And the answer is, oh, no, I don't. I need to go to the grocery store. Except they all did at the same time because they weren't prepared for this. Unlike the summer, they can start buying up all the stuff they need for summer in like late April, early May. But now they're having to do it like in a week. And when you have every parent in the area having to go buy toilet paper and canned foods and milk and bread, it starts looking bad because they're taking down the stock a lot, and then people see there's less toilet paper, there's less milk, and it just gets on Twitter and it just starts the panic rolling. So I think a lot of people who were stocking up are just stocking up for the fact that, like, I have to keep my kid in the house satisfied and fed and having enough basic having enough soap for my kid because I was expecting them to wash their hands at school throughout the day, not in my house.
Yeah.
And so that just started, and of course, it just snowballs. And I think that's something to remember, that a lot of people who were stocking up were just doing what they do every year for summertime. They just all had to do it in the same few days. But it caused the panic, and here we are. No toilet paper to be found.
And all I want to do is go to the grocery store and buy some groceries, and I can't do that while sitting in the line for 6 hours. And if you look at, oh my God, have you seen the airports, like pictures from the airports?
This is we are so unprepared.
Yeah.
And the problem is, like, the things that they're doing by canceling all these things that have more than 50 people gathered is preventative measures that, if done correctly, we'll all think 2 months from now that was overkill because it was done correctly.
Yeah.
And what they're doing at the airports is the exact opposite of that. Like, we just were not prepared for flying.
6 hour lines for screening for coronavirus.
Yeah, we just weren't prepared for that part of this. Like, all you need is one person in that to have the virus, and then you're going to screen a bunch of people who are going to be asymptomatic, who now have the virus.
Right. Exactly.
And hey, for all we know, Adam, myself, George, we already had the coronavirus, or we had it. COVID-19.
We could be over it. We could be over it right now.
We could be. There are a lot of new, interesting theories that I'm not going to talk about because they're all new. It just happens. It's daily news cycle. I mean, these are also coming from Twitter. Get off Twitter. First, mute Neil deGrasse Tyson. Then second, mute COVID-19, coronavirus, corona. Virus.
I'm assuming that everyone's already muted Donald Trump. I'm just making the assumption that people's already done that, but if you haven't,
you should all. Follow Salts of Dogs and Emergency Kittens and in.pencil.
In.pencil. Yeah.
Those are the three.
Yeah. All right, so let's wrap it up. Any final thoughts about conspiracy theories?
The burden of proof relies on the conspiracy theorist. You can't just say U.S. did 9/11 and be like, okay, where's your evidence?
Yeah.
And you're like, well, they wanted to do it so they could get in a war in Iraq. Well, that's not evidence. That's a theory.
Yeah.
You need
So
more
the
than that.
scientific method requires that you construct a hypothesis, then you test your hypothesis by doing an experiment, then you analyze your data and draw a conclusion, and then you report your results to be scrutinized by others in the scientific community or others in your
Yeah.
in your community or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So,
I think that pretty much wraps up my thoughts as well.
cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, yeah. That's conspiracy theories. Next time we'll get into something a little spooky. So, yes, thank you for listening to this podcast. And thank you for sticking with us, George. And as we all know, life is not written in ink, unchangeable, unmalleable. No. Oh, sorry. What was that? Unpredictable?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It's not that way. No, because we can grow, erase, learn, use the scientific method, and try out and learn new things. And because of that, life is written in pencil. Thanks for listening.